Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of January 2023. I hope you are well and Happy New Year. I'm using the, what am I using here? The World Unknown Tarot for you today. There are 3 links in the description box before we get started. The first will be to an extended that will be available after this. If the reading resonates with you and you'd like to investigate a little bit deeper, use that first link. The second link is to the 6-month overviews that I've done for each of the signs, obviously running from January to June 2023. So if you're interested in finding out what that 6-month period has in store for you, do feel free to check that out. And the third link is to my private community, the Order of the Circle, the Order of the Circle over on Phoenix, the Order of the Phoenix over on Circle. And so if you're interested in checking that out, you know what to do with that link too. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you, Cancer. There we go. We have the Devil in your recent past. That's Capricorn energy. Current energy, please, for... Well, Cancer is the Hanged Man. There we go, from Capricorn to Pisces. And what about January? What does that have in store? Oh, we have the Knight of Swords in reverse. Now that's interesting because the Knight of Swords is about the transmission of information, right? And that can be about thoughts, but it can be about words and stuff like that as well, right? It's very mercurial. And we find ourselves currently in the grip of Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. And so I wonder if this is going to be playing quite heavily on you as a sign during this period. I actually think it's going to turn out to be quite important for everyone, this particular Mercury retrograde. I mean, sometimes they just go past and you don't even really notice them. You know, a bit of fuckery with computer stuff and things like that, but other than that, it's neither here nor there. This one feels like it's going to be big for everyone, and part of that is because of the Capricorn. No, it is because of the Capricorn thing here, because that's all about your future plans. It's about the way that you show up day to day to undertake your plans, but it's also about what those plans are in the long term. What kind of person do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to be doing in 5 years? And how much does what you're doing now match up with that? Now, are you in a state of alignment? Are you going to be able to achieve that with the things that you do day to day? And that seems to be the general gist of the energy here for you. So I just want to point out that we do have the 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck there, and I like that very much. And we have the butterfly, the symbol of transformation. Things are changing, and we're already seeing that in the cards here, but they're changing very much for the good. But let's get some clarifiers out and see what's going on before I say anything else. Tell me about the Devil, please. Tell me about Devil. Why is it here for Capricorn, Cancer? We have the Knight of Pentacles. It's Virgo energy. And we have the 8 of Swords. Fitting. Tell me about the Hanged Man, please. We have the 5 of Wands in reverse. Hanged Man, thank you. And we also have the Page of Swords. And what about this Knight of Swords in reverse? Why is this in reverse? Oh gosh, had 2 come out straight away. Ooh, 9 of Wands and Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. So we have the Page of Cups at the bottom of the deck. That's the second page. I'll just flip this around so you can see. Second page that we've got going on here for you. So this is a time, I think almost certainly that this is the case, where you will be changing how you feel and what you think about a particular situation, a particular group of people, maybe even yourself. I think more specifically than anything else, actually yourself. What you think and feel about where you are, where you want to be, who you want to be involved in that with you. Oh, it's a really ugly spider. It's just like, this has descended down my window still, my window frame. Kind of feeling its way around, which is interesting in a Cancer reading, isn't it? It's just kind of like, where am I going? I'm going this way. Oh, I love it when things like that happen. Anyway, I shall stop staring at that and stare at this instead. This feels to me like you'll be pulling a considerable 180. I don't know what an inconsiderable 180 would look like, but that's not what's going on here. We've got shift in mind and feelings. And I think it's a precursor to something really big changing for you towards the end of January, but we'll get to that in a bit. So let's start with the devil over here. Like I said, it's Capricorn energy, and it generally speaking, the way that it's most often interpreted is relating to everything that is toxic or material or overly material. Anything done to excess, actually, interestingly, is very much the purview of the devil. But it talks about being stuck, feeling like you can't do anything, thinking perhaps that you can't do anything. We've got this Knight of Pentacles here, which generally is a card of consistent effort. And I wonder if what you've been looking at recently is where there are things that you've been putting consistent effort into, but is that the thing, right? Has it been consistent effort? You have felt like it was consistent effort, but maybe it's actually been a little bit patchy. Maybe it's been a little bit less consistent than you've told yourself. I'm going to pull another card here just to double check what we're talking about before I go any further. We have the Eight of Swords again, actually. Yeah, it's yeah, there we go, and the Tower. So I had a funny feeling that the Tower was going to be turning up at some point in this reading, just because of the kind of changes that I can see happening here. You can't have a complete 180 in your way of thinking about the world, way of thinking generally, and the way that you feel about everything without that causing some sort of monumental shift. Because when those two things change, we look on where we are with new eyes, right? And it's a bit like when you just live in your house all of the time and it's fine and you keep it moderately tidy and it's all right, and then one day you get a really strong sunny day and the sun streams through a window that you don't usually get the sun in, right? Because you live, say for example, in the UK and it's cloudy for 8 months of the year. And suddenly what's lit up right around the room are all the cobwebs that you have not seen. And you look around and you're like, holy shit, I thought I'd been keeping on top of this. I thought this is all nice and clean and tidy. But here, all the arachnids in my room have been taking up residence right the way around here. And what I actually need to do is get the hoover and just get all those cobwebs down. Up until that point that you didn't see them. This is what the Eight of Swords is saying here, right? Up until this point, you haven't thought about this in the way that you are thinking about it, right? The thinking has actually been quite narrow. And although you have told yourself that you have been being very consistent and very diligent and all these kind of things, the subtle shift is suddenly seeing the gaps. It's suddenly seeing where you haven't been. Maybe in some ways you've been telling yourself, you're free to do exactly what you please and you're enjoying that, thank you very much. And then something comes up inside you and you realise that actually quite a lot of what you do is arranged around other people and what other people need. That can be a real Tower moment, because it changes the way that you perceive it. You change the way you perceive your own mindset, interestingly enough. Now, when we go into your current energy, everything's done an about face. Like I said, the sunlight's obviously shown you where all of the issues were. And I really like these two cards underneath here, with the Five of Wands in reverse. Right? If this is talking about strife and conflict, possibly competition, possibly, all sorts of other associated kind of things, then when it shows up in the reverse like this, it is bringing peace to something. It is bringing a sense of unity where there was division. Now the question for me is this in your own head, Cancer, or does this relate to other people outside of you? I'm going to plant my flag and I'm going to say that I actually think it's both. I think there are things that you've noticed about the way that you think that have startled you somewhat. Like I said, perhaps it can be in terms of how free and liberated you think you are versus how free you actually are not. Sorry, I'm trying to move my blanket out of the way. I can put my feet down. I can see it playing out in all sorts of ways, actually. You know, I'm reminded of that time way back when I thought my boundaries were really, really good. And then one day it just suddenly occurred to me it was because I didn't fucking spend any time around people. So, you know, that was kind of an easy thing. I thought I'd put in loads of work. I thought that those things about my mindset were fixed, and actually what the case was I had just isolated myself to the point where it wasn't even relevant anymore. Now, bringing a sense of peace to you will, by definition, have you showing up kind of with your whole self. I know this is the moon's at the bottom of the deck, so I picked it up. And I think that this is important, because what I don't want to say is that you're bringing harmony and union to all of your relationships at this point, because I think it might well not be going that way at all. It might be suddenly you are realizing that there are relationships that you really need to move away from, be they work or romantic, sexual, even friendships. And looking at it in your eyes and going, God, it's making a sense of peace with making peace with a sense of self, where you put yourself first. You know, we've got this Page of Swords, rather, who's looking at this, and it does feel like everything's changed. It could be that some of you have made up with people that you previously fallen out with. But the fact that the Moon card is at the bottom of the deck, and the Moon card is Cancer for me, so there you are. There's an authentic expression of your energy. It feels more like you've made peace with a bit of yourself, and everything has changed as a result. Nothing stays the same. Thank you. King of Cups. Yeah, I mean, Cancer, you seem to be finding your zen. And you're looking at the people that you're working with. You're looking at the people that you build with. And I mean, when I say build, I mean the kind of life that you have built for yourself. And some of those people have got to go. Some of those people, though, interestingly, very much must stay. But I feel this very concrete sense of determination as to how you are going to change your life. You're going to change the way that you work with people. You're going to change the sort of thing that you're building and who you're building it with. But here's the Fool at the bottom of the deck. You feel to me like you're getting washed clean here, Cancer, like you're washing yourself clean, actually, in preparation for a new cycle. And whatever was going on here, whatever realization that you've had, that you've kind of shaken yourself out of, it was a very necessary precondition for the kind of changes that you now feel motivated to bring about. Tell me about this Page of Swords, please. Thank you. What do we have here? The Temperance card and the World, with the Chariot at the bottom of the deck. Now, Chariot is the other card of Cancer for me. It does talk about determination. It talks about goal setting. It also talks about balance and equilibrium, and it talks about the balancing of polarities, most specifically. And what we've got here between these major arcana cards that are all turning up is balance and moderation, healing, bringing something to an end, and the cycle that's coming to an end so that you may begin again has definitely taken place in here. The changes, the external changes, will come afterwards. I am not sure that you are ready to make those yet, Cancer. Not because you couldn't, but because there's a bit more bedding in of the information that you seem to be receiving, whether it's from your higher self or whatever, the universe, source, however you choose to term it. There's a little bit more to bed in before you're ready to actually start taking action. And if I'm honest, it's because I think your medium to long-term goals are getting overhauled. I think you're going to be thinking very, very differently by the time all of this information has bedded in. And I think that is why there's no movement. Well, we've got Mars in retrograde at the moment, and Mercury obviously is in retrograde. And it'll be that way till about 2/3 of the way through January. But when that energy shifts, you seem to me to be getting very, very busy. Because how could you not with what you've seen now, right? Like that day when the sun came through the fucking... I came through a side window that it only ever for like a month of the year. This is my old house, like 1 month of the year, and only if it was a really sunny day did the sun ever actually manage to get through this window. And I looked around in my kitchen and went, fucking hell, oh God. And of course, I happened to have somebody visiting me at the time, in the best tradition of these things, so it wasn't even like I could whip my Hoover out then and there and deal with it. I was just like, okay, so this is the house of spiders, right? That's fine. It's all really positive. This is all really, really positive. And I am loving the fact that I've seen your cards twice, because it feels like getting really comfortable in your own skin, and then taking you and your own skin and getting in your chariot and going, I'm heading this way. This is where I'm going now. I know where I'm going. Maybe where I thought I was going before, I've realised is not for me. When we come into January, we've got the Knight of Swords in reverse with the Nine of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune. Now, this is quite interesting because, as I said at the beginning, this is about the transmission of information. This is about the way that you think, and it's about the way that you convey that thinking to other people. It is, conversely, how other people think also, and how they convey that information to you. What filters do they use? Or do they speak the blunt truth? Most people are servicing an agenda at some point, in some way with the things that they say. Whether they're trying to make you feel better or whether they're actually trying to, deliver the truth. There was an agenda there somewhere. It doesn't have to be nefarious or a pejorative thing to say, right? And I think that what we've got here is a total blockage of info coming from you to other people. I've just been sitting trying to work out how that felt. And it seems like your lips are sealed this month about everything. Now, I think that's probably quite wise in the grand scheme of things, Cancer, because as I said, I don't think that you've quite worked out where you're going or what you're doing yet. It's going to take a little bit of time before you have worked that out. But this Nine of Wands, which is a card that talks about boundaries and resilience and all that kind of thing, usually speaking, when I'm looking at him, all I'm seeing is somebody who is not saying anything, which is weird. It's not usually the way that I see this card at all. And there are a couple of different ways that I can interpret what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling here right now. And the first is that for some of you, it looks like you might just stop saying something to see what happens if you do. See what happens if you stop, say, getting in touch with people, if you stop telling people what you think. We're looking for actions over words here, it seems to me, Cancer. Now, I don't think that you're doing this to test people, although that could be a way that we interpret the cards. It feels like you're taking a step back to allow things to kind of tidy themselves up by themselves. There's 2 cards here. We've got the Death card, which speaks to transformation, and the transformation I think here for you is, like I said, it is not sharing quite as much of what is in your head as you would have done before, but there's that definite sense of kind of allowing something to not only play itself out, but also in a way that's having you kind of looking for confirmation of something that you are intuiting at this point. Almost like you've realised that sometimes words get in the way of what you feel. And I think that's always the case. When you try and put words to an emotion that you're having, or a sense that you're having about a situation or a set of people, right? Sometimes when it comes out of our mouths, it sounds kind of silly. This feels to me like stepping back and just letting you continue to keep feeling your way around it, and almost let other people, dare I say it, hang themselves with that. Because at this point you seem to be concentrating on something very specific, and it's not the future, although the future is going to come into it. And taking charge of your life is really important, and that comes into it too. It's almost like you're looking at other people's actions and then your reactions. It feels a little bit like you're going into observer mode, Cancer. I think that's the best way to describe what I'm feeling. Going into observer mode and just watching everything play out. Not trying to put words to it, not even trying to put thoughts necessarily to it too much. Because you seem to me to be trying to connect with a feeling. And it's almost like your words and your thoughts have overpowered the feeling, whatever the feeling is. Maybe talked yourself out of the feeling. And so as an exercise, what you're doing, perhaps not even consciously, but you're doing it anyway, what you're doing is going into a kind of verbal retreat. You're going to be quiet this month. That's for certain. And very much preoccupied with where your energy goes and what it's being expended on, because you feel like you need to be in control of that. But I can't shake this feeling that wherever words become involved, that's where it gets messy, and that's where you lose sight of the feeling, or lose the feel of the feeling. I don't know if you're dealing with someone who likes to make a word salad out of things when you try and come to them with what's in your heart. But I see this very much about defending you, defending your sense of self, and not allowing it to be open for discussion. You know, these are really strong cards here. This is transformation here, determination, balance. This is taking control. And with the three of them together, what you're doing is completely different to the way that you usually operate. And I do feel like it's all related to what you've seen about yourself here. It could be that you've realised that you've been giving your power and giving your energy away for the longest time, and now you're going to withdraw it and see what happens, see who sticks about. Possibly. Or maybe you're just getting ready to up sticks and go. It'll be different for each of you, but the underlying theme should be more or less where it is. We've got the Six of Wands at the bottom of this deck, as we have at the bottom of here too. So your mind is very much on your own success, but I do feel like that what success looks like and feels like, what you think about it, is changing dramatically. And so whatever your long-term, mid to long-term plans are also going to be getting quite the overhaul this month. This is really interesting, Cancer. I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to go over to Vimeo and start pulling this about a bit like I do. But it feels to me like you're powering up somewhat. Whatever this major realization is that you've had, like it's started the dominoes rolling. And by the time you come out of the retrogrades, I'm speaking about Mars and Mercury specifically here, I think that you're going to have a very clear idea of where you're going, who you're going with, if with anyone at all, and when this will be happening. But there are certain things that you have to allow to bed in first. Like I said, I might well be waiting for some more information by way of watching the actions of others this month. Maybe watching your own actions, actually. This is really interesting. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this helped. That's the only intent that I ever set. If you'd like to come and join me over Vimeo, you're very, very welcome. Otherwise, not to worry, no shade. I will see you when I see you next. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.